Hi, this time I'm gonna start working on the UV Unwrap for the Hylian shield, which is the exercise 6 in this semester. So first thing that I'm gonna say is that these are the provided materials. Let me open the scene here. This is the UV shield, and these are the reference images. The Hylian shield has many different iterations. This one is basically going to be the one from Skyward Sword that is also reused in Breath of the Wild. So it's going to be look something like this. This is not the same model that the one that I'm provided. Yeah, so with that, let's start Maya. I'm going to hide this bar while this thing loads, and I'll be back in just one sec. Right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is set up the project as usual. I'm gonna go set up project, desktop, and I have this set up in here. So with that, I'm going to open my Hylian shield, no UV. That is the starting file. At least that's the name I have this semester. And that is what it looks like. Now, I have to say that there are two different versions of the Hylian shield right here. These are the neutral parts that are gonna belong to both of them. So this is the low resolution version of the mesh that is 948 triangles. The next one is this one, which is almost a little bit more than the triple size of it. I'm going to be extracting this information out of this high polygonal sculpture later, but for now I need to have the UV Unwrap completely done before I try to do that. This part here, and talking about these guys here, are already UV Unwrap, maybe not the bolts. I'm gonna double check that in a second. So yeah, the bolts themselves don't have any UV Unwrap associated with them. So the only thing that does are going to be my handles here, and this strap for holding the shield. So let's start with these two, and what I'm going to do is go to my UV, and I'm gonna minimize this so I have more space on the actual thing that I care about, which is this area. Now what I'm going to do here is, after selecting that, I'm going to go to my UV and I'm going to do a planar projection. This projection is going to be coming from the Z-axis. See, that is the area that is going to be using or having more space, and just apply that projection. It comes right here. Now after I project that image, notice how these guys are just like completely squashed, and the reason is here they are trying to fit on this space, and then of course they wouldn't, because if you think about this is going to be like a larger square. It's like the rectangle here. It's not going to be exactly the same size. So what's happening here is just getting squished from the top. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the edges, and I'm going to go all the way down here. I'm going to select them individually. I'll select this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Okay, I'm gonna hide the neutral because they don't belong here, and they're taking some space. So I'm gonna take these 5 as well, here and here. Great, and I'm going to go to my cut and cut those seams. Depending on the version of Maya that you're working with, it might be under the first menu over here. So this is I'm using my, let's double check about Maya. This one is my Maya 2017 update 5, so that's the version that I'm using. I'm gonna select the UV shell now that I got it, and I will go to my tools, smooth options, and then it's gonna do the UV space. Select the UVs, that's why, and then do the unfold. See how it just came down as I needed it, and then the two of them are right here. I'm gonna select this whole shell actually, and as I was in the selection mode, in the smooth mode, I wasn't able to select it. Now I press Q or W, and that is going to change to either select or move, and I'm just gonna get them out of the way. They're not gonna be this big, but I still need to see where I'm gonna be positioning the other parts of the shield before I modify this. If I wanted to use all of the space on a single texture for all of these guys, then chances are that I'll need to move these ones. Okay, so I will move these from here in the meantime, just to make sure that I have enough space to work with. All right, so the next part is going to be this shield here, and it is really important to notice that there is no way that I can just unwrap this thing in a single plane. If I go to my UV planner and try to apply a planner from the Z projection, then if I had a cut right here or all the way in the top like I did with these pentagons, that wouldn't unwrap the whole thing. These objects, they are piercing the surface. Let me just try to go in the inside and see they don't have a facing here. This one on the other hand does. So what I'll need to do is cut all around the border for now, and that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna cut this border, and I'm also gonna cut this other border right here because I want to do something special with this. I will go to my cut shells, and now I have my UV shell selected. Now another thing that I want to do, which is super useful for whenever you're doing UV unwraps, is see the border of my shells. See over here, they are perfectly marked with this thick line, but I don't see them in here. So in order to sew them, see them, so I can sew them together later down the road, is go to my display polygons, and then I wanna enable texture border edges, and just with that you see how it changed the thickness of it. I'm gonna go now to Windows. Once again, I'm gonna go to display, sorry, polygons, and then edge width. Let's make it larger, and see it's just incrementing here, which is great. That way I can just see what is connected to what and what not. So let's do, I'll do 5 here, just gonna be super marked down what I'm doing. And then I'm going to move these shells. So I have first shell, which is the front, I'm gonna put it here, back shell, and this shell on the side. Now for this shell on the side, you'll notice that there is really just a thick line here, and that is because everything is looking perfectly from the front, so you cannot see the projection. I'm going to select this edge right here, and I'm going to go and cut it. Then after I cut it, I'll select the whole UV set, and I will go to my tools, smooth. Once again, make sure that you're working in the UV space, so apply and close, and then unfold it. You see how it's doing this shape? That's a way of doing it. I also usually try to make a cut in here and then just try to align the whole thing, but for now this U cut is fine. Awesome. So the next part that I want to unfold is going to be, I want to separate this shell on the front. If I do smooth on the back, let's do that. If I do this smooth on the back, notice how it's just collapsing to a point. Now actually it's not. If I zoom in, it's just really small. It took Maya a lot of iterations in order to get to this point. And also something I totally forgot to mention here is, because I cannot see what is showing forward and backward, it's really important for me to use a texture and notice that. So I'm going to assign a new material to this thing, and this material is going to be my m_UV material. I'm going to select a texture, and that texture is my favorite texture for UV unwrapping. I really like this texture. I'm just gonna call it TUV base color. Gotta say that I found this texture online. I will try to put on the credit on who made this texture if I can find that information. If not, please leave it in the comment if you find it first. It is just amazing. I really like how it's just, you know, everything is evenly distributed and all the numbers just make sense. But as you can see here in the back, this part is just completely, you know, facing the other way around. One easy solution for this thing would be select the shell and then find in your menus where it is. But if you're using the same Maya version that I am using, under the UV toolkit, you will find that on the transformations. I can just say flip these in the U coordinate, and now the whole thing is there. Okay. Otherwise, just try to find the menu that has this option or the button in here. I can also apply a checkerboard mapping here that is going to tell me how evenly distributed these guys are, but this is really not my favorite because I cannot see what is facing forward, what is facing backward just by looking at it. So I usually just try to disable that. All right, so I have these two the same way that I wanted, and now notice this part. I'm going to unfold this, and what I'm expecting to look is that it's going to smooth it, see, without any like collapsing onto what seemed to be a point. On the other hand, if I try to do the same over here, I need to move this shell, it's too close to where I am. So if I do UV set and select the whole thing and then go to tools, smooth, this one is going to collapse to a point. I'll press F, and even though it didn't really collapse to a point, everything is just a mess in here. Do you see all these? And the issue, if you're a little bit ahead of me, is that I have this small border in the inside, so there's no way I can make it completely flat. And come to think about it, I don't really need to, because this part of the shield right here is going to be completely blue, and it's going to be a different sort of material to what I have here in the border. So I'm going to use that fact, and I'm going to select this edge and this edge on the top. My selection is not going to be perfect. Oh, but something I can do here is just say, select that and control right click and say to edge and to edge perimeter, and there you go. So I have all the edges surrounding this shape. Once again, let me redo that part. I will select the whole rim and I will say control right click to edge perimeter, and then that's going to give me the whole part. And with that, what I want to do is cut both of them, because I want to separate this part on the top and this part on the bottom. So that is going to be cut. And then I will have three different shells here. All right, I'll have this shell, I will have this shell, and I will have this shell. Perfect. Now I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did in the other part. I'm going to select this edge right in the center. Is fine. This is not a great place to have a seam, but I'm not going to be looking at this cut anyways. Let's see how it looks like. If I don't like it, I can always just redo that part. So cut it, select the UVs, and then go to my tools, smooth, and unfold it. All right, no, it's not perfect, but it's gonna do for now. Okay, the only thing that I really want is to have all of these shell even and facing forward. I'll do the same unfold for here and for here. And that is basically it for this shell. There's really nothing else to do. Now I'm going to select all of these things, and I will select all of these shells. I'm going to select them as shells, my bad. Press W or Q to move this in. And in this version of Maya, if I just go to my align and snap, actually no, it's under arrange and layout. I can just click this button and it's going to maximize the space for me. It is going to do a decent job of using the space, but notice that these guys are like way too large for what they are. So, oh, sorry. I'm gonna select the two of them. I'm just going to move them out of the way. And this part also works if you cannot find the layout button or you're not in the same version of Maya that I am. The other one is under here, edit layout in previous versions. Let me see if I can find it here. Image fine. I'm sorry, I've never used this new menu UV layout. So I'm using the Unfold 3D packing resolution of 256. That is the default value that this is using. Iterations once, back together, of translate shells, and texture map size. I'm going to make this larger. Padding units, style 1 by 1. Okay, so with that, I'm going to select them all over again and hit layout UVs, and it's going to be the same that I had. All right, great. I'm gonna move them out of the way so I can scale them down. Something this big is going to be good enough. What you're gonna try to do, generally speaking, is try to have all of your my UV material. Try to have all of these numbers in the same position. Okay. So I'm gonna select these. Once again, apply my modeling UV material. Great, so all of the numbers are even. Great. I'm gonna select the whole thing, and once again, I'll try to maximize the space on my own. So for instance, I know that I'm not going to be looking at the shell. There's two trains of thought really here. Like the first one is you wanna have to have all of the numbers the same even space. That is something that sort of looks like what I'm doing. And the other one is you wanna maximize the space for the stuff that you're using. So for instance, this border, which is the inner border, is not going to be shown, and I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to be adding texture information onto it, but as I'm going to be using colors mainly, I don't really have to have them the same size. So I'm just going to make it smaller, not so small though, but somewhat like this. This other face I'm going to be looking a lot out of it, and this one I can try to unfold it in a different way so it's not a U, which is using a lot of different space. Let's do some seams. I'm gonna move it in, and what I'm going to try instead of doing that is I'm going to rotate some of the vertices. So I'm gonna select not that UV shell. So I'm going to be taking these UVs here, just half of them, and what I'm going to do is start rotating them like this. So see, that is going to break them, but if I move them down and do a little work here, it's going to take these and I'm going to rotate them. That is going to force Maya to find a better way to UV unwrap these. That is basically saying, hey Maya, I want this thing to be a little bit more straight. So I'm going to take this shell, and I'm going to move it to the side. I'm going to select the UVs once again, and I'm going to do the unfold. So smooth. See how it sort of fixes it? It's no longer the W shape. And I think that's going to be good enough for not using a whole bunch of space. So I'm gonna select the whole shells. I'm gonna try the shells. Oh yeah, I'm in the different tool. So selection, and then there you go. So I'm maximizing the space that I can use. These two are really just you know, pressing their luck. They're really close to the other ones. So I'm just gonna move them out of the way. These guys also are really close to the border. I don't particularly like that. I'm going to move this shell here. I can make it larger because I'm not going to be using that space, and these guys are really close to the border. I'm not that comfortable with those sort of things, so I'm gonna move him back a little bit to the right. There you go. Another thing is this shell is going to be almost the same size as this one on the front, but I'm not going to be stressing that much information from the behind of the shell. I care more about what's going to happen here, so I'm going to make these things smaller, and I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to move this one over here. I'm going to make this one smaller, and as this one is in the inside, I'll have to move it small. Okay, I can also try to rotate it and scale it up so I maximize the space a little bit better. Gotcha. All right. So a couple of side notes here. Optimize the space by making some of these blocks larger. Depending on when you are doing this model for, or who are you making this model for, that might be not a great thing. Some studios like to have all the UV sets completely even if they use different texture spaces, like more than one texture. In this class, for instance, this is not an issue. So long you can maximize this space, you're gonna be fine. Lastly, these may look different than the UV unwrap that I did for your section or in your class. That is totally fine. No pair of UV sets are exactly the same, and even if they are made from the same artist. So take that in mind when you see this sort of thing. Now, the last thing that I'm going to do for this part, and that is completely separate from the UV shell, is I will select this shell and apply a new material to it. This is going to be my Lambert, and I'm going to call it a M_blue, and I'm going to make this part of the shell blue. Before I continue doing anything else, I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to delete the history. That is Alt-Shift-D. Okay. The next thing is I'm going to grab, let's say, this shell, this shell, this shell, and this shell. So everything in here. Actually, these guys too. This shell, this shell, this shell, this shell. Well, all of these guys. And they are going to have a different material. This is going to be also a Lambert, but this is going to be an M_steel. And I'm going to make it blue. Oh, actually, no, the steel is going to be gray, but let's make it white so it's contrasting with the blue part. And this part right here, that is going to be the strap, and I'm going to make yet another material for this one. This is going to be another Lambert, and this is going to be my M_leather, and leather is, as I'm going to be using color code, this green just represents that this is going to be the color of the leather. The last thing that I'm missing is the part of this part of the shield, which is going to be made in wood. So I'm going to select all of these guys here. And now, making sure I don't have any other face, yeah, I'm going to make a last material that's going to be a Lambert, and this is going to be an M_wood, and let's color code that to yellow, I guess is fine. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the information of this thing and put it in a map. Okay, so that again doesn't have to do with a UV map, but this is going to be super helpful to extract the information directly from this thing. And I'm going to do it in this video once again. I'm going to go to my rendering tab, and I'm going to go to my lighting, shading, and transfer maps. Now these are going to be the targets, and I will select which one is going to be my source. In this case, I'm going to do a Control-D, that is going to duplicate these objects temporarily, but they're exactly the same. And then these are going to be my source. I'm going to extract a diffuse map, and I'm going to put it on my scenes folder, source images, and this is going to be a PNG. This is going to be my color map. Save, and I'm going to make sure that I have 2048 as my output. I don't want to do a quantity of 8x just because I don't have the time in this video, so I'm going to make a preview of 1. And the better quality you put in, the more time it's going to take. So take that in account. Now with that, I'm going to minimize my thing here, and I'm going to go to my color map. And see, this part is how I created this color coding map. This is going to be very useful for a different lecture, but for now I just wanted I wanted to point out how to make one of those. Now that I have that, I'm going to take these guys out because really it's just duplicated geometry. And that is it for this lecture. I have my UV unwrapped, and this one here is the high polygonal map. None of it has any information. It doesn't really matter because the high polygonal one is the one that I'm going to be using to extract the normal map out of this shape, and the low polygonal one is the one that I just did the UV unwrap onto. All right, so that is it for this video lecture, and we'll see you later.